I'm going to simply open the doors for my bifold again. So it's simply fold back and click, and the handle tilts and pushes, and they fold away perfectly. Which leads me to, who's at the end of my 2-meter tape measure today, I wonder? Well, this is a fantastic lady that I met at a Businesswomen Scotland, where unfortunately for the ladies, I was the lunchtime entertainment. So I'd like you to meet Melanie Russell.
Good morning. Morning, John.
Good morning, how are you? So we've got our 2
well.
meters here, we've got our 2 meters, safe distance. And how's business been for you?
Absolutely crazy, just crazy. I think lockdown obviously has just made people rethink the way that they're living their lives, that they're working. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be really restricted anyway, and big businesses are changing the way that staff work. They've realised that they can work from home with technology now. It's just changed everything, which has obviously been fantastic for us.
I know personally for me, I didn't realise that when I met you and decided that it was a must-have for me for working outside, that on top of everything else, it's been such a great place for me to go out and just chill and have some space. It's just amazing. I mean, what did you do before? How did you get into this business?
Before I was in a completely different line of work. I used to co-own a web design company, and I just have been in that business for 18 years. And I'm very much hands-on. I like designing creative things, and the business has moved drastically towards social media, and I just never lost my way with that. And I took a year out to do a big refurb of my house. Left the design business, took a year out, did a refurb of my house, and I was looking for a new challenge, and somebody came to me with the garden room concept, that there's very few companies up here doing this, but it's a fantastic way obviously to add space to your house without the need for planning permission on the whole. And I did a lot of research into it and established that there are very few companies up here doing it. There's loads of them down south, but it's just not been a huge thing up here. So did my research, worked out that it was in fact a really valid business model, and the business was born. It started in May 2018. We launched the business, took 6 months to develop the prototype, launched to market in May 2018, and we have not stopped building ever since.
And where was your first one?
First one was in Knightswood, just in the west end of Glasgow. Just a lovely couple who had a small house, but they just needed a bit more space, exactly what you would expect. Loved where they were, happy with their schools, but just needed a bit more space in the garden for work, for the kids, that sort of thing. So that was Knightswood was my first one, and it was a big moment because it was a huge leap of faith, obviously.
So you don't have joins, you don't have these. And the other thing which I was totally fascinated by, and I don't know if you can see them here, is they're called ground screws. And it's kind of revolutionised having to do foundations and building and things. And I was just it did actually look as if I'd gone to the land of the giants. They basically are, what are ground screws? Screws for the ground.
Correct.
But tell me how you found out about those and what difference does it make to the building timescales?
Well, again, just through extensive research, looking at different materials and looking at the way to make the building as quick and efficient and as strong and resilient as possible, we came to the ground screws. They're initially the ones that we started looking at were developed in Norway, so they have fairly harsh conditions that they've got to tolerate. But the beauty of them, the main reason obviously, is the environmental impact. You're not having to do a massive concrete pour. You're not relying on the Scottish weather. You don't have to wait for 2 days, 3 days for the concrete to set. You don't have to create a shutter. You don't have this massive environmental nightmare of concrete being poured. They go in literally with a big driver straight down into the ground, and then the kit of the garden room sits off the ground, sits on top of the ground screws. So there's airflow underneath, which means that there's no damp issues. There's nothing coming up. Obviously, we put damp-proof membranes in the whole structure anyway, but as I say, the garden room is off the deck. So they're quick, they're environmentally friendly, and they're very, very simple to install, but incredibly robust. They can tolerate slopes. We get a lot of people saying, "But my garden's on a slope. How do you handle that?" Again, if you think about setting a concrete base on a slope, it's challenging to say the least. What you can do is you put longer ground screws in at the front or at the sloped part. If it's a really severe slope, then we can put a subframe on top of the ground screws. So again, they're quick and easy to cope with different
And it was seamless. And even though I started with a reasonably small one, and then I decided to pimp mine, and then I was a little bit bigger, and I just fell in love with it. But it did go for a seamless installation, which was great.
Yes.
Now, talked about sizes, and obviously we talked about rough budgets and things, but what would you say was the starting size that was manageable?
Yeah, the smallest one that we've built is 2.4 metres by 2.4 metres, or old school 8 foot by 8 foot. It's perfect for a single person's home office because you can get a desk, a filing cabinet or a storage case, that sort of thing. So that's a really nice small entry level, and that starts at £10,000 plus that. They then obviously go up indefinitely from there. Obviously yours is about 5.5 metres by 3 metres. Because we build each room from scratch in the workshop in Glasgow, we can make it whatever size it needs to be. All the doors and windows are customisable, but yeah, 2.4 by 2.4 is the smallest, and it's a dinky one, and it's a really nice size.
Again, nice for home office. I know you've got some clients that are writers or musicians, but remember, it is Sunday morning. But what is the most unusual use of space that you've heard of?
Oh, blimey, goodness. Well, I mean, the garden room I have in my office, which is the prototype that we developed, which is in my garden. It's currently used for my 10-year-old daughter's drum studio. Most unusual, goodness. I mean, we've got embroidery studios, as you say, music, home office. Another client who I bumped into out on a walk recently, who, she's loving it because it's her office. She can use it for Pilates at the weekend. The kids use it for music. They had a 50th birthday party last year, and it was a whole festival theme. And they had the DJ decks out in the garden room. That's an interesting one, though. I'm trying to think of anything more interesting.
Where do you distill your elderflower?
Well, yes. right above my elderflower tree, I make elderflower cordial. My elderflower tree canopies over my garden room.
Fantastic.
So, yes.
So it's an amazing product, and as I say, I would not have believed this time last year that we'd all be going through this, that I would have been able to get this area, because it has been truly amazing. And I'm hoping that it might be a nice, convenient, socially aware space, distance, for a little overnight, some people coming to stay as well. I'm hoping that eventually that will happen.
Normality.
So that has been great, and I hope people do engage with your business, because I've certainly, and especially all the guys, the team that you work with, they've got a super work ethic. I know that everybody's spoken to me about it, and I love it. Absolutely use it. Use it all the time.